Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, friends.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you doing today?
Good.
Can someone tell me what date it is today? Yes, Zahra.
The 5th of Muharram.
No,
Is it 5th?
6th.
It's 6th of Muharram. Yeah. Can anyone remember what we did yesterday? Where we went yesterday? Through our history chest. Do you want to say something? Medina. Well done. All right. So today is 6th of Muharram. So in history, in year 61 Hijri, where was the caravan of Imam Hussain on this day? Karbala. They got there on 2nd of Muharram. And one significant thing that happened on this date, 6th of Muharram, was that, Imam Hussain had a very good friend called Habib ibn Muzahir or Muzahar. He tried on this day, there was a tribe near Karbala, Bani Asad. The tribe was called Bani Asad. And Habib ibn Muzahir went to the leader of tribe and talked to him and tried to convince them to support Imam Hussain. But unfortunately, it was rejected. They did not want to take part in any battles. They said, we just want to be neutral. We don't want to take part in any kind of battles. So whatever is there between you, you settle yourself. So they didn't take sides. Do you think it's good to take sides sometimes?
Yeah.
So when you see that one person is clearly wrong and the other is clearly right, and one person is clearly oppressing the other, bullying, should we stand up to the bully?
No. Yes.
No? Should we stand up to bully?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think Zainab just misunderstood my question. So if in school, for example, you see that one of the older children are bullying a new student from younger years, and you happen to pass by, would you just look at them and just ignore them, or
No.
would you do something? What would you do? What would you do? Yes, Aliyah?
I would tell the bully to leave them alone.
Yes, that's one thing we can do. What if they don't listen? What would you do then?
Then you can tell a teacher.
Well done. So if there are responsible adults around, grown-ups, I think we should tell them.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's very important to always be on the right side.
Definitely.
Yeah. Even if it means that you have to give up on some certain things, right? All right. So those of you who've attended this program before, you know that what do we do when we feel like seeing something in history? Okay, yes, Zahra? Because I haven't asked her for a while.
We ask Taylor to open her history test.
Yeah. Shall we do that, Dalam? Let's see
I
where we
think
go
so.
today.
So where did we go yesterday? Where did we go yesterday?
Medina.
We went Medina. Who did we see?
On Muhammad.
Honor Muhammad.
Muhammad.
Whose children were they? Honor Muhammad. Who was the mother? Bibi Zainab. And that was really, really good. And they came to join who?
Imam Hussain.
And where did they join Imam Hussain?
In the battlefield.
In the battlefield. Where was his caravan at that time?
No.
Was he in Karbala?
No.
Where was he?
They were between
Traveling.
Mecca and Medina.
Yeah, they were traveling.
So first stop, Medina was the city. Then they went to Mecca. Then they went through a lot of places until they got to Karbala. Yeah.
But while they were traveling, they joined their uncle, and that was really good. And then you people are very, very clever. I think you're making the best of these sessions because you're learning so much about history. They won't need history chest. I think I will take it back with me because they are the history people. They will tell everybody what happened where.
So when you go back, will you take the history chest back?
Until you call me again.
I wish we could keep it, but obviously it's Dalem's property.
Maybe somebody else wants me to take them to history.
Yeah, that's true.
So
It's good to share, right?
Yeah.
Sharing is
sharing is
Caring.
caring.
Are you ready, children?
Yes.
I wonder which city this time. You can even read now.
Kufa.
Kufa.
What city is this?
Kufa.
Al-Kufa. Who did we see in Kufa before?
Muslim ibn Akhil.
Muslim
Ibn
ibn
Aqil.
Aqil. Well
Well
done. Shall we go? Are you ready to go?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stand up. Let's go.
Why are you here? Are you here to take me away?
Don't take him, take me instead. I'm here to help you. I mean you no harm.
Why should we trust you? You're a goofy.
Come along, we don't have much time. Hurry, hurry.
Wow, children. What was that? That was quite scary. Where were we? Do you know that?
I think we were in a prison.
Do you think it's a prison? What makes you think it was a prison?
It was dark and scary, and they didn't have much food.
Yeah. Dark, scary, not much food. Yes, sir.
There were bars everywhere.
There were bars, so they couldn't get out. Yes.
And a god came.
A god came. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he must be guarding them.
But he helped them out.
Yeah, so we saw that he was helping them out. Who were they? They looked quite young to be in a prison.
They were Muslim ibn Aqil's sons.
How do you know that? Because of their names, probably? Did they say their names?
The names.
Muhammad.
I was wondering, Sister Nargis, how do they know that that was a prison? Maybe because they were in there. I wonder if the prison in your time nowadays is same as the prison they saw there?
Well, not really.
Not really. How is your prison at this time different if you've seen it anywhere?
No.
You haven't seen it?
Yeah.
How do you think, how would it be different?
It
It would be more like that.
so it
Or could be more like that.
it has like bars and
Metal bars?
yeah, there's metal bars. And inside there's a toilet.
There's
Yeah,
toilets and beds.
true. They,
So have you
Bunk
seen a
bed.
prison in any maybe cartoon or movie?
Yes.
No,
I've seen it in Paddington too.
Oh yeah. There was a prison in Paddington. What was it like? How was it different from that?
They had different clothes. Orange.
Yeah, they all had
Orange and black and white.
matching clothes. Yeah, so that's one thing. And there were small rooms for each one of them.
but prison in that time was very different, wasn't it? Did you see how dark? And this one was little bit, it wasn't as small as I've seen the prisons. This, usually they're really small rooms. And I see you with the bulb lights. At that time, there was no light.
We had candles.
They had candles, but in
But not in
prisons, they
prisons.
didn't give candles. So as soon as the sun set, it was dark. Very dark.
And cold, probably.
It was cold.
So there would be no heating.
No, there wasn't anything to put on. There wasn't anything they could, there was no security or anything apart from that guard. Like broken plates they could eat in. The only thing they had, a prayer mat, not a pillow to sleep on.
And
Nothing.
those poor kids. I read in history that they had to live in that prison for 1 whole year. So, you know how they ended up in prison?
No.
They were such good
A
children.
battlefield.
A battlefield? What
And
happened
then they took them to the prison.
after the battle?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably that's what happened. Because historians think that they were either with the caravan of Imam Hussain after Imam was martyred in Karbala, and the ladies and the children who were left behind, they were all taken to Kufa.
Yeah, they were.
So-
we all went Kufa, yes.
Were you with the lady
I was with
Zainab,
the ladies.
Salaam
Yeah,
Alaiha?
yeah I was. I did accompany, and that's why I saw everything what happened.
So probably historians say probably when the caravan reached Kufa and when they were about to leave Kufa for Sham, Ibn Ziyad ordered these two children to be separated and put them in prison. And some historians think that they probably just because it was the after the martyrdom of Imam Hussain, that evening in Karbala was horrible. You would remember the tents were burning, horses were running, children screaming, everyone was scared. And in that chaos, these two children ran away. And they thought they were little. They probably thought we can run back to our house in our home in Medina. And they ran away, but they didn't know which way to go. So they kept running until they reached a place where there was some housing and some people living. And unfortunately, someone captured them and gave them to the people of Ibn Ziyad.
Sister Nargis, we were all chained, all ladies. They put chained around us, and we didn't know. We had children, small children, and us. We were in same chains. We didn't know who was where.
How could they put chains on the ladies of the household of a prophet, Lady Zainab? You know, there was no one more respectable at that point than Lady Zainab and Kulthum. How dare they put
They
chains?
didn't care.
And on our Imam Zainul Abidin, our fourth Imam. How could they put chains on him?
But they did. They had no respect. They just wanted power, Sister Nargis. They didn't care who they were
blinded,
treating.
weren't they?
They were.
So when these two children, they were put in prison for 1 year. They were, all day they would fast. For 1 year, they would fast, and in the evening, they would just give them a piece of bread and water or a date and water. That's all they had. And after 1 year, Muhammad said to Ibrahim, he said, it's been so long here and we get barely enough to eat. It's barely keeping us alive. How about we introduce ourselves to this God? The God wasn't a very bad man, but he didn't know who they are. He just had orders from Ibn Ziyad that be strict with these children. So one day when he came to give them food, they said, do you know who Muhammad is? Who Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is? And he said, how would I not know that? He is my prophet. I followed the religion of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then they said, do you know who Ja'far Tayyar is? And he said, how could I not know that? He was the cousin of my beloved prophet. And he said, do you know who Muslim ibn Aqil is? And he said, of course, he was the son of Prophet Imam Ali's brother. They said, we are from the family of your Prophet Muhammad. We are two innocent sons of Muslim ibn Aqil. That the person who was your guest here in Kufa. And the God did not know that. He had no idea. So when he found out, he started to cry. I said, what have I done? And he kissed their hands and said, please forgive me. For I did not know. I thought you must have committed some crime. I had no idea. And then he promised to help them escape. And one night he came and pretended to give them food. He came in and helped them escape. Yes, Zainab?
Wasn't their face shining? So how could he not know?
Well, the faces you see in the films, there's shine on them because we do not know the features of Ahlul Bayt, so we covered them. But there was no shining visible. They were obviously beautiful, but it's not. Ahlul Bayt are human beings, but pure human beings. It doesn't mean that there's light coming out of the faces of these children. So they looked like other children, but obviously they had that innocence on their face. They were beautiful. And also when you're a good person, it shows on your face,
Yes.
doesn't it?
And you just feel like looking at them.
Looking at them,
You don't know. You don't know. It doesn't have to be light. Sometimes you see people and you just feel like looking at them. And this is how they were. Beautiful children, I remember.
So they escaped. That's all the God could do. But they did not know how to get to Medina. They didn't know anybody in Kufa. So they kept running and running and running. And they did not have anywhere to sleep. So one night, they just climbed up a tree to hide from everyone. And they were hiding there. When someone came, there was a pond under that tree. So someone came to wash their hands or face in that pond. And unfortunately, he saw the reflection of those two princes, those two children. And then he brought them down. He said, come down, and asked them who they are and promised them to protect them. But he was a baddie. He was one of the people of Ibn Ziyad, one of the followers of Yazid. So naturally, he didn't keep his promise. And he took them to his house, and he told his wife to keep them in one of the rooms because he wanted to take them to Ibn Ziyad in the morning. Because when Ibn Ziyad found out that they have escaped, he promised that whoever brings those two children will be given 1,000 dirham or dinar. That was the currency in your time, you would remember.
Yeah.
So what happened is that person took them home. His wife was nice. She was a believing woman. She wanted to help them escape, but she couldn't. And in the morning, that person, his name was Haris, he had a slave, and he told his slave to take them to the river and kill them, behead them. So he took them to the river, and on the way, the children introduced themselves again. And the slave immediately fell on his knees and kissed their hands and asked for forgiveness and said, I will never do that. And told his master that if you disobey your Lord, I'm not going to obey you. So that person, Haris, told his son to do it. He did not do it either, because how can anyone commit such a horrible crime? But Haris his heart had turned black because of his deeds. So he said, I am going to be the one who kills these children. The children pleaded to him, said, let us go back. We mean no harm. We haven't committed a sin. Let us go back to our homeland. And he said, no, I'm not going to let you do that. And then they said, if you don't want to listen to us, and if you want to kill us, let us pray at least. It was so important for them to pray. They said, let us pray. And he laughed at them. He said, oh, okay, you can pray, but that's not going to do you any good. And he laughed at them. But they didn't care. So the last thing they did was pray. So both brothers stood side by side, and they prayed their last prayers. And then both of the brothers kept saying, kill me first and spare my brother. And the other brother, Ibrahim, would say, no, don't kill Muhammad. Kill me, but spare him. And Muhammad would say, no, don't kill Ibrahim. Kill me and spare him. But that cruel man, he did not show mercy. He beheaded both of them. And then he threw their bodies into the river. And he took their beautiful heads to Ibn Ziyad. You remember how cruel Ibn Ziyad was? Even though he was so cruel, but when he saw those beautiful faces, he immediately stood up and then sat down and stood up and sat down 3 times. He said, how could you? How cruel are you? How could you kill these beautiful children like that mercilessly? And then he ordered his guards to take that person, the cruel Haris, and he beheaded them. He said, this is what you deserve. You don't deserve 2,000 dirham. You deserve to be killed. And the bodies of those brothers, they were hugging each other, and the river took them. And got the bodies to a shore and people found them, and somehow they found out that these were children of Muslim ibn Aqil, so they buried them with respect.
I thank you, Sister Nargis. You know, children, I didn't know the whole story because when the children were kept behind in Kufa, I didn't stay behind. I carried on traveling with the caravan of Ahlul Bayt. Now people who we heard this happen to them. We heard the children were killed, Muhammad and Ibrahim, but I wasn't there because I had moved on. We weren't allowed to ask them to give our children back to us. We weren't allowed to do anything. So I heard, but the whole story, what happened, is written in the history. And I found out with you what happened to Muhammad and Ibrahim.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome to our program. For today's segment, we have invited few children from the community to write some poems. Mashallah, they have written some nice poems for us. First, we're going to ask them to introduce themselves to us.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ali-Reza and I'm 11 years old.
Assalamu alaikum. My name's Aliyah and I'm 7 years old.
Mashallah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Zahra and I'm 9 years old.
Mashallah. Ali-Reza, can you please tell us your poem is about which personality?
I'll be reciting an acrostic poem about Mullah Abbas alayhi salam. Abbas, astounding loyalty to his family, brave like a fierce lion, brother who was hope for his sisters, avenger of the fallen, selfless despite being tortured by the enemies. Abbas.
I will be reading an acrostic poem about Imam Hussain alayhi salam.
Mashallah.
Hussain. H is for humility like no other. U is for unpenetrable strength. S is for super selfless in all his actions. A is for awesome courage in fighting on the battlefield. I is for intelligence better than everybody. N is for no sins as he was infallible. Hussain.
Mashallah. Zara, can you tell me which your poems are about which personalities?
I have an acrostic poem about Bibi Sakina.
Okay,
and
mashallah.
another poem about Lady Zainab alayhi salam.
Beautiful. So which one are you going to read first?
My acrostic poem.
Okay.
S. Safe in her father's arms. A feeling she longed for. K. Karbala is where she wished to stay. In the tent was an empty cradle. N. No Ali Akbar or Abbas. A flood of tears she wiped away. Sakina.
Mashallah. Mashallah. And now you're going to read the second one for us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, my lady Zainab, how tears fill up my eyes when I remember how your brother made such a sacrifice, how you watched your sons fall on Ashura day. You stood tall, head held high, you wiped your tears away. I know it was painful. I know your heart bled when you saw your son's body, bloody from toe to head. Did you think, 2 sons? I'd give the world for Hussain, for he's the light of God, and not the one to blame. Oh, the goddess of patience, the loudest voice of truth. You chose to stay in chains, and still you shook the roots of tyranny and injustice till the end of this world. You silenced the hooting crowd with just one word. You looked at Hussain like a traveller at the North Star. You followed him to seek Allah to a land very far. There's only one worth bowing to, you knew since you were 2. In your father's lap you kept saying 1 and you wouldn't say 2. For that one God you gave your sons, the only God you ever knew.
Mashallah. Beautiful poem. Zara, why you chose Bibi Zainab for this poem?
Well, because she... Muharram is the month of Lady Zainab and Imam Hussain. And also she was kind, and she was one that you could trust, someone you could trust.
MashaAllah, Zahra, it was beautiful. I love the way you expressed your love towards Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. And thank you very much, children, for the poetry. And I hope viewers can also choose their favorite personality from Ahlul Bayt and write something at home. Inshallah, see you tomorrow with our next segment. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.